Okay, great to see everybody out here. Awesome to have these young guys on the field. Got some really good work in there with their coaches, offense, defense, special teams. They're working very hard. We're throwing a lot at them mentally, so they need to study, and they are studying. They're spending extra time in the morning, in the evening time, and they're doing a nice job in the classroom, weight room, and out here on the field. So looking forward to getting a couple more good days with them, and then we'll keep them here next week. If any questions you guys have, I'm ready to go. Not really, Jake. I mean, I think when you first get it, you always look to where's that bye week, how many back-to-backs, where are the division games, those type of things. But nothing in particular.
Do you feel better about when the bye week is going to be this year versus last year?
Yeah, I think there's value in the middle of the season. I really do. So it kind of worked out that way for us this season.
So now that you know it's Carolina, do you start working?
You do. Yeah, you do. And you start, that's an opponent we haven't played in the past couple of years, so got to get to know their coordinators, get to know their personnel, so that's something we're working on right now.
Hey, Kevin, what are your first impressions of Perry Winfrey?
He's done a nice job. I mean, this was obviously just a short practice out there, but he's got really good size, comes off the ball explosively. He's working very hard.
Coach, we told Cade York the conditions are usually just like this at the stadium for kicking. He was saying that you guys are well aware of how competitive he is.
Yeah.
And because of that, you've given him more space then to kind of work on his own during camp. Is that it, that you just want to get him the maximum amount of reps to get ready?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit, Tom, with a kicker, you're trying to maximize is a great word. You're trying to maximize every moment you have. You can't kick every day. You can't do that. So what are you doing on those off times? You're studying tape with the coaches. You're looking at what you can do better. You're working on your body, those type of things. But he's going to make sure every minute counts.
Coach, I saw you speaking in glowing terms about David Bell on the Building the Browns show, and it seemed like you may have been sort of a driving force or very instrumental in him being here. What do you think of David and that pick?
Well, I think organizationally we're very excited to add David. He was somebody that throughout the process, I know our coaches, our scouts, everybody was excited about him. So he did a nice job today. He doesn't say a lot. He's pretty reserved, but he's very intelligent. Did a nice job with what we gave him today, and I expect him to continue to take strides every day.
What was it about? A couple of roster questions. Dawson Deaton, you have him listed as guard. Will he be that?
Interior, guard center. Mm-hmm.
And Jake Fromm, reasoning behind bringing him in?
Take a look at him. We brought two quarterbacks in, a rookie, and Jake obviously has played for a couple of years, so just take a look at him.
What was it about Bell's film that you looked at and said, yeah, I think he can fit well into my scheme?
Well, a very competitive player, catches the ball really well. We thought he had some savviness. So I think when you're looking at the draft, Scott, there's so many guys that can fit. You better have a lot of guys that can fit into your scheme. It's really what traits do you feel like you can exploit, so to speak. So we thought he was really competitive at the catch, has some versatility to play outside, inside.
Hey, Kevin, I know that you always want to get better all the time, everywhere.
Thank you.
But did you really look at special teams, the kicking game, as something that you really have to make a jump on?
Yeah, I think Andrews every season tried to make some roster decisions to add good players, whether it's you're talking specialists or adding guys on your roster that you feel like can be core players. So I don't know that was different this year. Obviously, we went out and signed Corey and drafted Cade, so I understand we added to that room. But that's always going to be something that is front of mind for Andrew.
But even like the return game, do you look at that as?
I think it was more, the market and the availability of those players.
Question about Marcus Santos Silva. The challenge of coming in here, making the conversion from basketball to football as a tight end. First, what did you like about him? What appealed to you? And just again, could you speak on the challenge and first impressions of him?
Yeah, I think with the tight end position, we've all seen it. The guys that have transitioned from basketball into the pros, and the body type. First of all, you look at the frame and the ability to put weight on. Oftentimes those undersized fours who are in the 6'4" range and have a frame and/or are already in the 250 place, they typically have great ball skills, basketball players. So, you're thinking about them around the hoop. There's a hoop right there. But in and around the hoop, ability to snatch the ball, and then it's their ability to use their length. So some of the guys that you can think about, Tony Gonzalez and some of those guys using their length, body position, had it, when they enter the ball in the post, similar on a stick route, hey, you can stick your hands out and go grab it. So a lot of those things apply from basketball to tight end position. So we're always looking for guys that can maybe do that and give them a chance.
What is it about David Bell's skill set that makes you think he could be effective in the slot? Saw him working out there a lot today, and he was talking about it earlier.
Yeah, I think he has versatility outside, inside. But again, I do think he has a natural competitiveness both in route running and in route catching. So the ability to make contested catches and the ability in the route running game to set people up and drop your weight, those type of things.
When you talk about getting familiar with Carolina's coordinators, is that the project of a quality control guy, or what's that process?
Yeah, that's a good question, Tony. I think it starts with the quality control guys. You don't, in their role, you don't want to use up a lot of your time prior to knowing the opponents and breaking down a bunch of tape because, for instance, if you broke down a bunch of Carolina prior to the schedule release and they were the last game of the year, you just wasted a lot of time. So for them, they kind of wait for that schedule to come out, and then it's the first three opponents. You're really focused on getting the tape and getting some work done on them early. You'll have the preseason tape on them, but it certainly starts with your quality control to break it down. And then as a staff, once it's broken down, you can chop it up and look at it every which way.
In your 2 seasons here, you went 3-1 in your first 4 games both times. Lost the first game. But overall, were you pleased about the way you brought the team along to the first month of the season?
Yeah, I think both years, the last couple of years were different. Obviously, the COVID year was different. Last year was a little different, off season, and then having a preseason. So we've learned things the last couple of years that we like, that we'll continue to do. There's a couple of things that we'd like to tweak, but ultimately we do feel like between the coaches, the strength coaches, the medical staff, I do think we're putting our guys in position to be ready to play week 1.
Kevin, Cade has talked so much about working on the mental side of kicking. I guess what has stood out to you guys about him and the work he does with that aspect of his game?
Yeah, I think he's a naturally confident young man, which is great for that position. I do think that's something that all kickers, I'm sure, constantly are working on, the mental side of things. Really, all players are, and it's something that we take seriously here. So I'm sure that he's had a plan, he's had a system, if you will, that he's gone through in his past, and I think you really want to stick to what works. But he's somebody that will constantly try to find edges anywhere he can.
Is it encouraging to hear that he's already talked to Phil Dawson about the stadium and the weather that he will face here?
Yeah, I think that's great. I think Phil's been an outstanding ambassador for our team and certainly our specialists. So to be able to connect with Phil and talk through First Energy Stadium is an important part of it.
Kevin Martin Emerson, he's kind of known for that length.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious, what does that do for a corner to have the kind of length that he has? I mean, you can
Were you guys paying attention to the first drill? He put one of our coaches on his butt. Probably shouldn't have, but he's length with corners especially. It allows you to play at the line of scrimmage to really deter the release of the receiver. And as receivers, they want off. They want the ability to sell the go route and come off the ball. And when you have somebody like Martin, they're going to work at the line of scrimmage versus you, but even if they gain 6 inches, you have maybe 33 inches to go with your length to make them get around you, get you off your precision timing game.
Kevin, noticed Michael was sitting out there. What's going on with him?
Working through a lower leg injury, but he'll be okay.
And will all the draft picks stay on for next week?
Yes.
Veterans come back?
Yes.
And that'll be their first time with the vets?
Correct.
Kevin, there's Martin keeps telling us that he hasn't really talked about playing in the slot yet with any of your defensive staff. Are you guys in the market for a slot corner after trading Troy Hill, or do you think you have the guys who can fill that role?
Oh, I think we have multiple guys that can fill that role and have filled that role in there. So I think that's why we talk about versatility. If you're playing corner, if you're playing safety, you're going to be trained to play in the slot, play our nickel position. So I think we have multiple guys that can do that.